Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday service of Now Creations. First things first. The first thing, the most important thing, is the presence that you have, the presence that you are. Never doubt that the most important thing is your own beingness, and from your being proceeds everything about you. May you feel that presence within you and allow the Holy Spirit of your being to manifest in all that you do. Let's begin. My dear friends, I think that we have a clear understanding that things happen in the world because people make them happen. We realize that each human being is a responsible participant in the whole of life, whether that whole is our family, our community, sometimes our place of work, our religion, our country, and even in the world itself. Carl Jung said it quite well when he said that each of us belongs to collective groups. We all belong to collective groups, and that we both receive and contribute to those groups. It is precisely this area of participating in groups that I want to address in today's teaching, and of course from a spiritual perspective. What is it that we as soul spirits, what is it that we as conscious soul spirits can contribute to our collective groups, from our families to the world itself? I will begin with a clever wordplay, address the notion of truth as a universal energy, and then lay out 3 guidelines for those of us who have chosen this spiritual path. The title of today's teaching is Responsibility. Not simply one word, responsibility, the 2 words, response and ability. Let's begin. In Now Creations, we have several people whom I like to call wordsmiths. These people are quite clever in coining words and even writing poetry. One such clever wordsmithing is addressing the word responsibility, which normally is defined as fulfilling our obligations in life. As many of you know, that single word responsibility can be cleverly wordsmithed into 2 words. Thus, the one word responsibility can easily become 2 words, response and ability, the ability to respond. I think that these 2 words, response and ability, speak more clearly to those of us who are on a spiritual path. When we say that we have a response ability, it clearly signifies that each one of us is free as to how we will respond to life. We freely choose our ability to respond. This freedom to choose is quite important because it clearly teaches that each one of us is in charge of our own lives, and that each one of us is on our own spiritual path that we have freely chosen, and that each one of us are now using our ability to respond to the meaning of life. Of course, the immediate question that arises is, well, what are you using? What are you using your ability to respond to? Let me explain what it is I think we are responding to in the following way. In the past, many religions felt a responsibility to spread their religions, especially the religions of Christianity and Islam. Thus, much attention was given to missionary efforts. The idea was to convert the so-called pagans or the non-believers to the truth of that particular religion. Thus, reports about the number of conversions were read very enthusiastically, whether it was winning souls for Christ or bringing people under the guidance of Muhammad. Such efforts were clearly important at that time. For those of us on a spiritual path, these old ideas of conversions and missionary efforts do not seem to fit into contemporary thinking because we believe that each soul is in charge of its own experiences, which it has been in charge of even before the birth of your personality self. So the question, what is it that someone is responsible to? What is it that our responsibility needs to address is quite appropriate. Thus, this is what I suggest to you, that to those of us who are on a spiritual path, what we are responsible for, what we have the ability to respond to is the truth. The truth. Of course, you want to perhaps further ask, well, what is the truth? To which we have the ability to respond. This is precisely where the spiritual teachings of our good friends, the Buddha and Jesus, come into play. About the truth. First, the Buddha. When the Buddha announced what was to become the fourth noble truth of Buddhism, he set forth 8 steps to follow, which has become the Eightfold Path. Many of you know this. In this path, there were 2 bookends, the first truth and the 8th truth. The 2 of them are the most important. Step 1, or the first truth, for the Eightfold Path. The Buddha said, you must know your Dharma. And by Dharma, the Buddha means you have to know your truth. You must know the truth of who you are. There are many people who are passionate about half-truths or no truths. But just because they're passionate about them, well, it doesn't mean they're true. Because of our study, we believe that we know the truth of who we are. We are conscious, eternal soul, spirit, source energies who are presently manifesting as personality selves in this space-time dimension of planet Earth. A rather sophisticated definition. We know the truth of who we are. We are eternal, soul, spirit, source energies who are presently manifesting through our personality selves in this space-time dimension of Earth. The second bookend of the Eightfold Path, the second bookend, is one that is very familiar to many of us. The Buddha said, in order for you to know your truth, well, you have to meditate to know that truth. You must go within and first of all establish your true identity so that you do not get caught up in the unruly desires of the world, which cause pain and misery. You have to hopefully avoid that hamster wheel that makes you go faster and faster on your way to nowhere. Well, would you not say that you have these 2 truths of Buddhism pretty well locked in to your spiritual path? You know who you are as an eternal soul spirit, and you meditate daily. You know the truth of who you are and the practice of getting there. So with these 2 foundations, Let us now turn to the wisdom of Jesus. When asked by his disciples as to, well, Master, what laws should we follow? Jesus said, well, there's only two. And the first one is to love the Lord your God with your whole heart, mind, soul, and strength. And then the second one is like the first one. Now imagine that. You said the second one is like the first one. The second one, to love your neighbor as yourself. It's been my experience in life, anyways, that we will never fulfill the second truth of loving our neighbor as ourselves until we accomplish the first one, loving God with our whole heart, mind, soul, and strength. And this is precisely where our studies have brought such clarity to us. For now we know that when we love God with our whole heart, mind, soul, and strength, that we are really loving the God self that is us. I'll say that again. When we are loving God with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength, we understand that we're loving the God self that is us. We must realize this truth, that we are the love of God. When we love God, we're loving ourselves. And thus, when you love your neighbor, you are also loving the God self of your neighbor. All creation, but especially humanity, is a participation in the love of God. We know that. And we respond from that love of God. Now, do you not know this? Have you not clearly understood the teachings of oneness and love that embrace our neighbor as our God self? Once again, do we not know the truths taught by Jesus? And do we not recognize those truths taught by the Buddha? Do we not clearly understand what we are responsible for? Do we not clearly understand that we have the ability to respond to the truth of life? We have the ability to respond to the truth of who we are, to the truth of who our neighbor is, that we together are the love of God in human form, whether others are knowledgeable of this or not, and that all of us have the presence of God as the true identity of our lives. And it is this true identity that is inspiring us to have that love of everyone else, whether they are aware of it or not. You see, I believe that we are witnesses to the truth of ourselves and others. And in this truth, the desire to bring the kingdom of God into expression right in our lives, right in our area of planet Earth. Please do not allow the third dimensional world or personal events to cover up your truth. And it is precisely this truth that I would now like to share with you in these three practical applications. Again, the truth of knowing who you are, and of knowing who your neighbor is, and responding accordingly. With the truth of life, namely love of God and neighbor, and the tools of meditation and spiritual practices, may I suggest the following three practical applications of our response ability, our ability to respond to the truth. The first practical principle is the confidence we have, in knowing the truth of life. If you were to ask a group of people, what is the truth of life? They would probably hem and haw around, and they would say something like, well, for me, the truth of life is this. Isn't that the problem? The vast majority of people are very confused. They are uncertain about their truth of life. In fact, they really don't like to talk about these things because they haven't given them sufficient consideration. They're confused, uncertain. At best, all they can say is, well, for me, it's this. It's different for you. It's different for you. You have taken the time to study and reflect, and you realize that the truth of life is much more than what it is simply for you. You, like Jesus, you see the bigger picture of establishing your truth on the love of God and the love of neighbor. Do you not see the firm foundation on which you have established your life? You have established your life on the rock solidness of the God Spirit and the love that proceeds from God's love for all of creation. The goal for us, is to be confident in our knowing. This confidence in our knowing, this confidence in our responsibility is founded in two very practical teachings. The first one is from A Course in Miracles, where Jesus said, we'll teach only love, for that is what you are. We know this. We know this. We know that love is who we are. So often we hear these familiar words, but perhaps may have not absorbed them as much as we need to. It's kind of different now. You've heard these words before, and perhaps you've absorbed some of these words. But more than anything else, you now are living these words. You have become the living truth. You have become the living truth of the love of God in human form. Which brings us to the second point. The second point that cements our confidence in truth and in love is the effectiveness of the results. Dr. Phil, in the afternoon talk show, oftentimes would ask people, how's it working for you? How's it working for you? You can honestly say, it's working for me just fine. I'm living the truth of who I am and what I see others to be. Love is really working the best in my life. And the results, they speak for themselves. I think you can honestly say that the twin pillars of life and love, truth and oneness, they have now become your way of living. The quality of your life has been increasingly better, and it will evolve even more because you know the truth of who you are, who others are, and how you respond to them. Speaking of responding to them, the second practical principle is based on the principle of moral behavior. Let me explain. By moral behavior, we simply mean how a person lives their daily life. Now, we have addressed the first of the two pillars of moral behavior, namely the way we live in everyday life, that first pillar being love. Yet we know that this first quality of love has a very valuable companion, a companion energy, the energy of oneness. These two qualities of oneness and love are the foundations of our moral behavior, the way we use them to respond to love. What I would now like to do is to introduce a word that underlies these two qualities, that underlies them. We will someday talk about this word more fully, but for now, let me simply express it to you. The word is warmth. 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 So this is the question that I would now pose to you. What do you feel? What do you feel when you are loving? What do you feel when you are at one with others? What do you feel when you are loving and when you are one with others? Let me pose the second question. What do you feel when you have not been loving or feel at odds with someone? Is it not clear to you that acting from the qualities of oneness and love produce within you, they produce within you a warmth, a feeling of warmth within you, a sense of satisfaction that enables you to understand why you are so confident in your truth. The truth speaks by way of the feeling of love within you. And I would go so far as to say, as presented in Paul's letter to the Philippians chapter 4, verse 7, that acting from the qualities of oneness and love produces that peace of God which surpasses all understanding. Are you not finding this to be the case? Is there not that warm feeling within you that just in a sense says to you, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. But knowing that you're doing the right thing is supported by the feeling of the warmth that accompanies the word or the expression. That your ability to respond is based on this solid feeling that is producing a strength and a peace in you that is truly the peace of God. And that truly, this peace, this warmth, this response to the truth, isn't that the peace that you have learned to acquire that now surpasses all understanding? You're doing this, and you know what you're doing. The third practical principle of our ability to respond, we realize that there are many things that are awry in the world. We are not blind. We are not ostriches. We know what's going on in the world. And yes, it would be wonderful if everyone lived by the qualities of oneness and love. But may I suggest to you the following interpretation of the world events, and then specifically your place in those events. First, the interpretation. The world is a place where souls are able to experience many things, from great joys to great sorrows. And each soul is in charge of what it will experience. And please remember that what might look terrible on the surface is simply for the soul one more experience of life. Another comment. What must happen will happen. What must happen will happen from the soul's direction. And what happens is often far beyond our ability to do anything about it, because it's the experience of other souls. This is so important to understand. What is the experience of other souls is their experience, just as the experience of your soul is your experience. We have to understand this. It is the soul that guides the personality self in those experiences, just as it is your soul that is guiding you now on a spiritual path for your experiences. And while you have had many, many soul experiences in your past, you are now having the soul experience of advancing on a spiritual path. So what does all this mean? Hopefully this, that you who are on the spiritual path of knowing the larger truths, the bigger picture of oneness and love, that all of us who are on this path, all of us, understand certain truths in life that many people in their soul's expression are not ready to understand. It is not the experience of other souls at this time. But here's the point. Do not allow the lower energy of others or the world stop you from your spiritual advancement. Don't allow that to happen. Don't allow what's happening in the world or the lower energies of others to stop you from your spiritual growth. You will continue to love God and your neighbor with your whole heart, mind, soul, strength, because this is now the spiritual pathway forward. You are the way showers. You are the vanguard of life. And others will come when they are ready. This spiritual pathway forward is now your responsibility. The spiritual pathway forward is now your ability to respond to. It's the truth that you are invited to respond to. It's the truth that we are responsible for. This spiritual pathway has not only begun to transform you, but it will transform others in the world. Respond to it. Respond to it, not to the lower energies. And know that in so doing, you are doing what is most important for the development of your soul, and also that you eventually will be the blessing that all others will look to for their guidance. There's no need to worry. All is working out, unfolding as it should. Be concerned simply about you unfolding and developing as you should. Allow your truth to guide you. In conclusion, I trust that today's teaching concerning the truth of life and its qualities of oneness and love are giving you that confident assurance of knowing the beautiful spiritual path that you are now on. This path will continue to elevate you in others with whom you are journeying. It will do so because it's the truth. It's the truth. You know who you are, and you know what you're doing. What a wonder it is to behold, to know this truth of life, and to live it fully together. Let me now bring you into meditation, and what a joy it is to do so. Just nice, easy breathing. I bet that some of you recall in the Gospels when Pilate was addressing Jesus, he asked the question, what is truth? What I think is interesting is you know the truth for our present time in history. You know the truth about our present moment in history. You are no longer confused or baffled. What is that elusive truth? You know it. You know the truth, first of all, that you are an eternal conscious soul, spirit, source, energy. And that you are presently manifesting in your human vehicle here in the space-time dimension of planet Earth. Now that's the truth. There's no need to hem and haw around and say, well, for me, the truth is, get over it. You know the truth of your identity. Second step in the truth, having established your identity, is you know how to maintain it. You know how to be strengthened in it. You follow the eighth step of the Eightfold Path. You do a daily meditation, and you follow the 7 daily spiritual practices of now creations or another code. And then step 3, you have not only established the truth of your own identity, but you also understand the identity of all others, of all others. You know that they have the same identity as you have, although at present many are pursuing other soul experiences. But you are respectful of all of the other paths. They're just not your path at this time. Just as the path you're presently on was not the path previously in your life. And might I say that your moral behavior to others, your moral behavior to others, your ability to respond to the truth of who they are has become exemplary. Please do not underestimate how much better you're responding to others. Because you've established the teaching of Jesus, you really do love God with your whole heart, mind, soul, and strength. And now you are establishing a love for all others. Even for those 2 or 3 that might be difficult for you. Your moral behavior is exemplary. You are a way shower. But right now, for the last part of this meditation, would you focus on the feeling of warmth? Go inward to your soul. Go inward to your soul. And focus on the feeling of warmth, not just to your body, but warmth within your soul. Concentrate. Warmth is the truth of your being. Warmth is the truth of your being. It is your ability to respond to light. What a wonderful day we're going to have today as you respond to that joyful warmth, which is the truth of your being. What a great day in store for you. And in that energy, let me invite you back to your breath. Nice, easy breathing. Feel the warmth. Feel that truthfulness. Knowing who you are. Happy to share it. And in that energy, warmly, joyfully breathing your eyes open. Happy to say, I am an eternal being of light and love. Thus, only good can come to me, and only good can come from me. And we are eternal beings of light and love. Thus, only good can come to us, and only good can come from us. Namaste.